Is it fair to all concerned? Will it bring goodwill and better friendship? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? These simple principles guide what we say and do. And so with this forum, the mission or intent is to inform the residents of Hollis, Brookline, and surrounding areas about who our local candidates are and what drives them as individuals, so we can make more informed decisions when we vote. We ask the candidates to speak about themselves only and not about their opponents. The questions will be geared toward understanding the individual candidate, their passions, and the issues that compel them to seek the office. Each candidate will have a 90-second opening statement and a 90-second closing statement. There will be questions asked of each candidate, and they will have 60 seconds to answer. We ask that they only speak about their stance and platform and not criticize the opposing candidate. I gotta say personally, from last night, when a person was disparaging another opposing candidate, I felt very uncomfortable. I didn't want to be a police. We want to host this event. So please stick to your own, and we want to know how to vote for you rather than not vote for the other person. This is not a debate. It's an informational forum. If you speak about another candidate's opposing position, they will not have the chance to respond, and that will not be fair. So please keep to your own thoughts, accomplishments, skills, positions, and preference that will help us appreciate who you are and how you might vote on issues that would come when serving our community. I would like to recognize all the candidates for seeking office. It takes a lot of strength and energy to follow your convictions, and I salute you all for choosing to take time away from yourselves and family to serve our community. Thank you. We will ask each of you in random order the same question and give you 60 seconds to answer them. We'll alert you at 30 seconds, 50 seconds, and when it's your time. And when the time is up, sorry. Please respect the time limits. The questions were selected by a committee comprised of Rotarians and taken from a list of questions that were sent to us by residents. And so we'd like to start with a 90-second introduction. We'll start with Deborah Pignatelli, District 5 Executive Council.
Excuse me, Eitan, can I just ask that that all of the candidates have their display on on gallery view, because as your time comes close, we'll be putting up signs for 30 seconds, 15 seconds in time. I just want to make sure that you're able to see those.
And when you're not speaking, if you could mute from our IT support at Town Hall. Thank you, Don. All right, so Deborah Pignatelli, District 5 Executive Council. Floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and thank you to the Hollis Rotary for putting on these forums to help inform your residents in Hollis about some of our views and why we think that we might be best to vote for. So my name is Deborah Pignatelli. I'm running for re-election to the Executive Council. The Executive Council plays an important constitutional role in New Hampshire government, responsible for improving contracts, state judges, agency heads, and much more. I spend a lot of my time helping constituents with their interactions with state government. That includes my towns, my constituents, and businesses in my communities, my 32 towns and the city of Nashua. The work does not make headlines, but I'm especially proud of it, and I find the work very satisfying. I first ran for public office in 1986 as a state representative and then a state senator. I enjoyed both jobs, and both of them helped me a lot in learning about the Executive Council and what the job entails. During my time on the Executive Council, I shone a bright spotlight on the process of awarding no-bid contracts and approving retroactive contracts. I voted to approve excellent judicial nominees, and I'm proud of my votes approving agency heads and members of our many state boards and commissions. I bring a moderate, independent voice to Concord. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. David Wheeler, District 5 Executive Council. Please give us your introduction.
Yes, thank you for having us here tonight. This is a long-term rematch with Deborah. We've each served on the Executive Council for 10 years, so we have that in common. We both have sons that are lawyers, so we have that in common. But there's other things that we contrast about. And I would like to get back on the Executive Council and bring a focus that's tough on crime, that's not soft on crime, one that would let the Attorney General help out the Hillsborough County Attorney when he's having a hard time in Manchester enforcing the law and following the law and not being soft on crime. I'd also want open transparency. I'm going to tell you whether, my position on Addison, whether his sentence should be commuted or not. I'm not going to keep secrets. My time on the council has been spent bringing transparency to the council, lowering the limit of contracts that we see to $10,000 from $20,000 and giving specific scrutiny to a lot more contracts and being the watchdog for the taxpayer.
Thank you. Thank you, David. Sorry about that. So for District 12 State Senate, Melanie Levesque. You're on mute, Melanie.
Okay, sorry about that. Hello, everyone. I want to thank the Rotary for hosting this forum and all of you for listening in. I'm looking forward to tonight's forum. I grew up in Nashua, and I've lived in Brookline for 28 years. My mom was a single mother who brought up 6 children on her own. Some of my greatest memories are when we all worked together at pancake breakfasts and spaghetti dinners. My mom was my first mentor and showed me the meaning of service. I'm a small business owner with a passion for service. Of my 20 years in business, 14 have been spent serving my community. I served for 6 years as a state representative, and in 2018 was elected to the state Senate. I was elected on the promise to put people first. I kept my promise to working families by achieving real property tax relief for the first time in a decade, driving down the cost of prescription drugs, and securing the largest increase in public school funding in our state's history. All of this without a sales or income tax, which I oppose, by the way. Now, you may hear misleading information tonight about paid family medical leave, which is in no way an income tax. I've always opposed an income tax and will always work for New Hampshire families. But we still have much work to do, and that's why I'm continuing the important work. I look forward to this evening's conversation.
Thank you, Melanie. Kevin Avard, who's District 12 State Senate, just noted a couple of hours ago that he had something that he's not able to attend, so he will not be at this forum. So we'll move on to questions. And the first question is, what has motivated you to run for office? And David Wheeler, District 5, we'll start with you.
Yes. Yeah, thank you. So like I said in my opening statement, I've seen things at the Executive Council this year, people being soft on crime, and we need to have a focus on crime. We also don't have 4, 5 Supreme Court justices because this current Executive Council wouldn't confirm Gordon MacDonald to be the next Supreme Court Justice, Chief Justice of the New Hampshire Supreme Court. A nominee from Governor Sununu that had strong bipartisan support from Republicans and Democrats, from the bar, and from many of his law colleagues. A very, very capable nominee, and we need to have a Supreme Court in place. So that's some of the reasons.
Thank you. Melanie, District 12, what has motivated you to run for office?
Yes, well, thank you. As I mentioned, I grew up in Nashua, attended local schools, and started my family and business in Brookline. When this seat opened up, I saw an opportunity to continue giving back to my community. That desire to give back, that sense of civic duty I carry with me this day was instilled in me at a young age by my mom. She taught me what it meant to be part of and involved in the community. And when I had my daughter, I realized I had to do more to provide a better future, not only for her, but for all children. In 2018, I chose to run for this seat because I saw that the needs of our community were not being met by the existing leadership. I was elected, and I am so honored to be your senator.
Thank you, Melanie. Deborah, what has motivated you to run for office?
Well, as you know, I've been in office since 1986. And before that, I was a kindergarten and nursery school teacher. I was the first executive director of the Girls Club in Nashua, now Girls Incorporated. And I was a tenant services director for the Nashua Housing Authority. So my entire career has been about helping others and being in service to other people and to my community and to my state. I have strong feelings about being so fortunate in this state. My husband and I were lucky enough to move here and to raise our two boys here and to see them succeed and to see me have jobs that have given me much satisfaction. And so I think that I'm passionate about running because I want to continue my service to people. I want to continue to help people. I strongly disagree with what Councillor Wheeler has said about my being soft on crime and the judicial nomination. Thank you.
Thank you. Melanie, we'll start with you on the next question. What, if any, personal beliefs or philosophy would govern how you would carry out the responsibilities of the office?
Thank you for the question. What guides me comes from a very simple saying: people first. I believe that we need to approach each other with respect, to listen, to have honest conversations with each other. I believe in service, so when I see someone in need, it's a time for me to step up. Government should be an instrument of good to help the people that we serve. We need elected officials who lead with empathy and understand the needs of our constituents. This is particularly relevant considering the current pandemic. In such conditions, having a strong, competent, empathetic local government is critical. I also believe that one of the secrets of my success is the ability to reach out to everyone, regardless of party. When one of my constituents calls asking for help, I don't ask them if they're a Republican or Democrat. I just get to work. This philosophy also applies to my willingness to work across the aisle. Progress is impossible unless we work together.
Thank you, Melanie.
Well,
David, same question. What, if any, personal beliefs or philosophy would govern how you would carry out the responsibility of the office?
I think one thing that I would believe is to make sure that we have transparency. For instance, if I had customers like lobbyist customers like Eversource, I would not be voting to put people on the Public Utilities Commission, on the Site Selection Commission, or on the Site Evaluation Committee. That's just an incestuous relationship, and that should never happen. There should be full disclosure. If that were to happen, that should be on ethics forms, and it most certainly is not. So I think we would work on having an open process at the council where there's conflicts of interest, they're disclosed. If you have a client in your family works for Big Pharma, you shouldn't be putting people on the pharmacy board. It just shouldn't happen.
Thank you, David. Deborah, what, if any, personal beliefs or philosophy would govern how you would carry out the responsibilities of this office?
Well, first and foremost, every level of our government should set the highest standards as our country strives to achieve the great American ideals of freedom, justice, and opportunity. Government cannot and should not try to do everything. As it has done, though, throughout history, it should protect our people, educate our children, and provide for the country's general welfare. I believe people in public office must listen to all views and then vote with common sense and mainstream American principles in mind. Again, I disagree with what Councilor Wheeler had to say about me. Thank you.
Thank you. I think a lot of people might not know exactly what the Executive Council does, what the responsibilities are and the duties. David, maybe you could help us with that, and then obviously Deborah, Melanie will ask a different question. So David, what does the Executive Council do, and what are the responsibilities?
Well, one of our responsibilities is to hear requests for pardons and commutations of sentences. Now, it's for example, it's been rumored that Michael Addison, the cold-blooded cop killer, would like his sentence commuted, and several candidates for the Executive Council had said they wouldn't do that. And I'm on the record to say, I mean, they would do that, and I'm on the record as saying I would not commute a first-degree murder charge has been tried by a jury and has plenty of witnesses, not even a circumstantial case. So that's one of what I would do.
And just, if I could, try to keep to what you're trying to do or what you're saying rather than what the opposing person might say or not say. I think that would be a little better for us to get to know who you are. So, Deborah, what does the Executive Council do and what are the responsibilities?
So as I said in my opening, there are three main responsibilities of the council. One of them is to approve agency heads to head up our important state agencies like the Health and Human Services Department, the Attorney General's Office, and many, many more. I do not vote for any agency head who doesn't believe in the mission of the agency that he or she wants to lead, or who doesn't have the experience, or who won't listen. I vote for those who are respected by their peers, who are qualified, and who will listen. As we all know, a business, a school, and every other organization follows the leadership of that organization. The tone is set at the top. My votes as executive counselor have always kept that in mind, and I will continue to do that if I'm reelected. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. Melanie, what are the responsibilities of a state senator?
Well, I believe our role is to pass legislation that improves people's lives. We sponsor and vote on bills. All senators sit on specific committees, and some of us are also chair committees and sit on boards and commissions. I was selected to be the chair of Election Law and Municipal Affairs Committee, and I also chair the Bail Reform Commission and the Transportation Council. However, constituent services is an important part of our role. Many times, a phone call from the senator helps move an issue forward or directs people to the proper resource, which cuts through roadblocks. When COVID hit, I set up a program called Neighbors Reaching Neighbors, consisting of a group of people throughout our district. We called my constituents to check in with them and ensure that they had the resources they needed. We assisted constituents with unemployment insurance, food banks, eviction prevention, and much more. Ultimately, the job is about listening to the needs of our constituents and turning their requests into action.
Thank you. Thank you. Deborah, what relevant skills or experiences do you believe you would bring to, or you have to this office?
I'm sorry, was that for me?
Yes. What relevant skills or experiences? Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I have 26 years of experience in state government. I've loved the jobs of being a state representative and a state senator, where I helped put the budget together. And now I see in the council when we're approving contracts over $10,000. Oh, we're approving this contract because the legislature had in a bill what they wanted to spend money on. So I try to avoid getting involved in the actual policy making. We're not a policy making body. So besides my experience, I am a good listener. I'm always willing to listen. In addition to that, I'm willing to change my mind if I'm wrong. And I don't have a problem with that. I am a strong advocate for my towns and my city of Nashua, for my constituents, and for businesses in my communities.
Thank you, Deborah. David, what relevant skills or experiences do you believe you would bring to the office?
Well, thank you for that question. I probably should say hi to the other Dave Wheeler there, which is kind of cute and coincidental. Hi, Dave. Anyways, I'm a small businessman. We have a lot of things that we do in business. We're a Christmas tree farmer. We do maple sugaring. We do floors. And we sell and install manufactured housing. So we have a lot to do. We know we have a payroll to meet every week, and we will use that business experience at the state level to try to make the ends meet at the state level. We have to bid on jobs, and so I know about bidding. We've corrected some agencies when they were putting out bid bonds for small jobs. Performance bonds, fine. Bid bonds, no. You don't get any bid. You don't get a lot of bidders. They have to come up with a bond first.
Very good, thank you. And Melanie asked the question already, right? I lost my spot, sorry. Okay, next question.
I don't think you asked me that question.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I kind of lost my spot and I apologize.
No problem.
Yeah.
So,
Melanie,
yes,
what relevant skills or experiences do you believe you would bring to this office?
thank you. Well, first of all, I'm a small business owner also, and I know that small businesses like mine are the backbone of this economy. It takes perseverance, diligence, and a positive attitude to start and continue a business. Secondly, I'm a consensus builder. The way you make good legislation is by bringing people together and listening to all sides of an issue. That's exactly what I did with the SMART Act and with the Bail Reform Commission. In a room full of people with diverse ideas, we were able to develop new and improved legislation that everyone could support. I worked on a police reform bill that banned chokeholds, private prisons, and allowed for new reporting measures for officers' misconduct. We passed the police reform bill by working together collaboratively with law enforcement. And just recently, I was endorsed by the New Hampshire Police Association. Now more than ever, we need leaders with these skills to build bridges, work across the aisle, and get things done.
Thank you, Melanie. Deborah, what are some of the issues that a person elected to the office you seek is likely to face?
Some of the issues. Okay, well, as you know, we approve any contract over $10,000. So a lot of the issues regarding that involve reading the contract, trying to understand what the contract is trying to accomplish. Sometimes it means my calling, if it's a especially large contract, calling other states who have contracts with this vendor to find out what their experience with this vendor has been. So those are some of the issues involved in that. We approve nominees to head up our agencies, so that involves talking to the nominees, finding out why they would like the job that they have, what past experience they have, and just interviewing them the way you'd interview someone if you were thinking about hiring them. I enjoy all of this. And I especially enjoy communicating with my constituents by sending out emails after every meeting and meeting with them before COVID. Thank you.
Thank you. Melanie, same question. What are some of the issues that the person elected to the office you seek is likely to face?
Well, first of all, the top issue that we face is fighting this pandemic. There have been 217,000 Americans, almost 460 of them Granite Staters, who have died from COVID. The quickest way to get our economy started again is by taking the virus seriously and listening to the medical experts. Also, our business owners, homeowners, landlords, and renters will need to be supported, and we will need to stimulate the economic recovery with investments in communications and infrastructure. Two of the other important areas to highlight by the pandemic are healthcare and education. We need to continue driving down the cost of healthcare and fully fund our public schools, which will prevent property taxes from increasing. On all of these issues, again, it's going to take leadership that will look at our priorities in a thoughtful manner and, again, consider people first.
Thank you, Melanie. David, I'll ask the question again. What are some of the issues that the person elected to the office you seek is likely to face?
Well, first I'll follow up on what Melanie said is that we're running a deficit at the state level, a budget deficit, and we're going to have to deal with that deficit. We're going to have to tighten our belts while still doing the spending to support getting well in the health during this COVID crisis. And we should do that without raising taxes on businesses. They're struggling enough, and we need to get them reopened as soon as possible. Another issue that we need to deal with, and it's going to take some time and it's complex, is the transparency within drug companies. For instance, the council gets the state employees' drug plan, a health insurance drug plan, and it is so hard to tell what we're paying for what medicines are included in a formulary and what medicines aren't. We're paying $64 for a bottle of insulin through the state plan that we can go to Walmart and pay $25 for. So we need to get that fixed the next time the employee health contract comes up.
Thank you. Thank you, David. I think we've asked the questions of everybody. Next question would be we'll start with Deborah. What issues do you especially want to address if you are elected?
Well, I'm hoping I'm going to be elected again in November. So some of the issues that I would hope to address is, well, I would like to remain a fiscal watchdog and be very careful with the way we're spending our money. I would like to continue to vet our nominees to our different agencies and our many boards and commissions. I'd like to also encourage the residents of Hollis and my other communities that if they have some time on their hands and they would like to volunteer for one of the boards and commissions, that they contact me and I will try to arrange it. And most people have found their efforts on these boards and commissions to be very satisfying. I'd like to continue meeting the needs of my constituents. Just today, I'm working with a tow company in one of my communities who is not on a list of calls for the state police. I prevented someone from becoming homeless last week, and I would like to continue to work on those issues. 1 minute passes way too quickly.
It does, I know. I was thinking the same thing. David, we'll ask you the same questions. What issues do you especially want to address if you're elected?
Well, I most certainly agree with that, Deborah. 1 minute passes way too quick. I think education would be a priority. I would like to see an education commissioner with a business background like Frank Edelblue. His term is going to be up during the next council. He hasn't been supported by this council, and I would like to either support Frank if he chooses to do the job again and the governor would nominate him, or find someone like him. I said maybe he should clone himself because I feel that he's the best education commissioner that we've had for a long, long time. He has used his business experience to put matrix down when he's putting out contracts. He's very clear. This is what we expect to get with this contract. And by the way, we're going to check on you mid-contract, and we're going to make sure that you deliver the deliverables at the end of the contract.
Thank you. Melanie, what issues do you especially want to address if you are elected?
Well, I'll continue to prioritize battling the coronavirus, lowering healthcare costs, providing a quality education to our young people, voting rights, and investing in our infrastructure. This pandemic has also brought about some process improvements, such as setting bail, court hearings for lesser crimes, legislative hearings, and telehealth, all conducted remotely. For everyone to have access to these remote options, we need to expand access to a robust broadband network. These are issues I've been working on in the Senate, and I'll continue to champion them throughout my next term.
Thank you. So on questions for position on property, income tax, and minimum wage, I think that might be a question for legislator. Would that be for executive council as well? Would you think that that's appropriate to answer? I would ask David and Deborah if you think that that's a position that you'd want to take on. I certainly ask Melanie of that, of course.
It's not something that we get involved in. Matter of fact, when I joined the Executive Council, it's not a policy-making body, and I decided to stay as far away from policy-making as I could.
Understood, and I agree. I just wanted to get your perspective. So I will ask Melanie your position on property, income tax, and minimum wage.
Well, thank you. Well, first of all, I do not and never have supported an income or sales tax. I understand that our property taxes can be a strain, especially to our seniors, which is why I support senior exemptions for housing. In fact, in my first term, I helped achieve $178 million in property tax relief. In the past, the Education Stabilization Fund had been cut each year. These costs don't go away. They are downshifted to you, our taxpayers. In the Senate, I worked to reverse the downshifting of these costs by fully funding education. So, not only do I not support an income or sales tax, I helped lower your property tax rates. And to clarify, it has been said that paid family medical leave is an income tax. This is disingenuous, misleading, and simply not true. Paid family medical leave is an insurance for working people. It's a benefit that can be used to care for sick family members or the birth of a child. And I absolutely support raising the minimum wage to a living wage.
Thank you. If I would ask Deborah and David, if you would tell us something about
Can I
yourself.
take a crack at that previous question, please? Because I want to be on record on that previous question, because it's an area. It's an area. Yeah, thank you.
Open to you, by all means, David. Go ahead.
It's an area where Deborah and I disagree, because part of the job of the council is to advise the governor. And part of advising the governor is to take a position on huge issues like a sales or income tax. And I am certainly on record as opposing any other broad-based taxes in New Hampshire. And I think that's totally appropriate of a counselor who's the second highest office in the state, has a bully pulpit equal to the governor's.
Thank you. Deborah, I don't know if you wanted to say something. It's certainly open to you.
Yeah, I would not give away a chance to say something. So Councilor Wheeler talked about judges, and I was not able to vote in favor of the governor's nominee to sit on our Supreme Court. And here's what I'd like to say about that. We all want highly qualified people with unquestioned ethics, but for me, that is the bare minimum. I'm looking for more. A court balanced on the political philosophical spectrum from liberal to conservative. And wouldn't it be nice to have a little gender balance as well? Only then will we get the best decisions, because then all views and values will be reflected in those important court decisions that will govern lives in New Hampshire for years to come. Thank you for allowing me to answer a completely different question.
But that's okay, and I apologize in that the responsibilities here of both Senate and Council are slightly different, and asking similar questions is a little more challenging. This is more of your thoughts, philosophical, so please bear with us. I'll start with you, David. How do you propose, or you would propose, easing the burden of property tax from individuals without raising other taxes and without reducing services?
Well, thank you for that question, because each of us, Deborah and I, we bring with us our party platforms. We are identified with one party or the other. Deborah takes money from the educational unions, and we have totally different philosophies. So we need competition, and to answer your question, we need competition in education to reduce property taxes. Parents need to have choice. Parents know where their child can get the best education. We should support our public schools. I graduated from public school, yet I homeschooled my children, and they are very, very successful. And that didn't cost the taxpayers of Milford a dime. We saved them over $500,000 over our child's educational years. So we need to open up educational opportunities. We need to take grants from Washington when they come in for charter schools, and that will reduce property taxes.
Thank you, David. And again, please keep to your own opinions, thoughts, rather than the other opposing candidate. So Melanie, again, philosophical, how do you propose easing the burden of property tax from individuals without raising other taxes and without reducing services?
Well, that's a good question. And as I said before, when we stop downshifting the state's responsibility to the towns, that will ease the tax burden. We've seen this with the retirement system, that the state stopped paying their share, but there was still a need. It needed to be fulfilled. So that meant that the towns and municipalities had to pay, make up that difference. That's a property tax increase. When we fully fund education rather than cut, there's still a need. It has to be paid. So if the state is not going to pay their share, then it goes to the property tax payers. Another thing is, if we cut the budget and you still have those needs, they have to be paid somehow. So I would say, first of all, stop downshifting the costs to the towns. But secondly, last year we put in place a bill that introduced a new kind of tax. And this was a bill that was sponsored by a Republican, Hartzell, and a Democrat, Lou D'Alessandro. Bill.
We continue that maybe into closing, because it sounds really important.
Yeah, this is.
I want to keep the respect for everybody. As that 60 seconds is short.
Yeah.
But we're trying to get a lot of questions in, so I want to open that for Deborah. Again, a philosophical question. Your opinion, what you think about how would you propose easing the burden of property tax from individuals without raising other taxes and without reducing services?
So as a counselor, I don't get involved in those kinds of discussions. I know that when I was in the legislature and on the appropriations committee in '89, we were cutting the budget. It was a really bad time. And I remember one night at around 12:30, 1 in the morning, we ended up cutting the dental program for children because we just couldn't afford it. And Ellen Ann Robinson and my dad were dentists, and it really hurt us to have to do that. But I want to tell a story with the remainder of my time. So when I first started running for the council, I spoke at a Rotary. It might have been the Hollis Rotary, but it might have been the Nashua one, I'm not sure. And usually when we speak at organizations like that, we're given a mug or something else. But I was given this coin, this four-way test coin by the Rotary. And I have kept it for 16 years in my briefcase. You can see it's really tarnished. But I think the four-way test is a good credo to use if we can. So I congratulate you on that. And I try to do that as well.
Thank you very much. This is a question that came from, I'm sorry? No, okay. This is a question that came from a voter, which we thought was very interested. And I think it's just directed to senators. So I will let the counselor remark on it if you wanted to. But what would you, Melanie, what would you do to affect parity of UNH with big state schools like UCLA?
That's an interesting question. To affect parity. There is a very large difference between the schools in size, but I believe that we would look at the curriculum that they offer, although it's not really going to be our role to set curriculum. So I would have to dig into that question a little bit more, and I don't have an answer for you on that. I'm sorry, but I can get back to you.
Absolutely, and the question was more, all the states have these big schools, and UNH is not on parity with a lot of these state schools that offer a lot more to their students and services. So.
Yeah, well, I will also say that we don't have as much money as a state, and I'm quite sure that California has other taxes that help subsidize that.
Certainly. We thought it was an interesting one to just bring it up as a possibility. On the council, is there would you like to comment on that, or should we move on to closing statements? Either one if you wanted to, or okay.
So that's not something that I would get involved in. I would look to other state agencies and the legislature to comment on that. But I can talk about transparency if I could have the time.
Absolutely.
So transparency is very important to me. When I first joined the Executive Council, I instituted a policy of having public hearings on the governor's nominees to head up our important state agencies. I think that this is really important because it says to the nominee, you know, you may be appointed by the governor, but you work for all of us people, and we on the council are the people. We represent the people. Because of a bill that I co-sponsored in 1998, we now have judicial public hearings. Before that, the criteria for being a judge in this state was your friendship with the governor. So I believe in transparency. I think it's very important to communicate with our constituents and our towns and our businesses about what we're doing and how that affects their lives and their businesses. Thank you.
Thank you. David? You're on mute. David, are you saying something? You're on mute.
Yeah, my mouse ran away. I was trying to unmute here. Yeah, you know, I really agree with Deborah. You did a good job, Deborah. Kudos on that. I think one of our strengths here in New Hampshire is our community college system. And the council does have a role in making appointments to that community college system. And I just wanted to highlight that. You know, our oldest son went to the community college, graduated the top of his class there. And our daughter went to the community college as well. And they got good education at that community college. And then they went on to do even more. So I just wanted to highlight something that I'm proud about to answer that question.
Excellent. Thank you. Very good. That brings us to the concluding statements. You each have 90 seconds and wrap up whatever it is that you'd wanted our voters to know. I'll start with Deborah Pignatelli. and that is for District 5 Executive Council.
Thank you, and thank you again to the Rotary for hosting these forums for all of us. Count on me to continue to support our public schools, to advocate for commuter rail in my hometown community and for other communities in the area, to fight the opioid crisis, to keep a woman's right to make her own healthcare decisions, to maintain our excellent judiciary, to watch the dollar carefully, to actively provide constituent services, to treat everyone with respect, and to continue to bring a moderate tone to our Governor's Council. I'd also like to talk about the endorsements that I've gotten because I think they're an important example of the people that support us. So I have been endorsed by the New Hampshire Sierra Club, the Responsible Environmental Protection for New Hampshire Agency, my choice for our presidential candidate in the presidential primary here in New Hampshire, Amy Klobuchar, the National Education Association, Planned Parenthood Action Committee, Rights and Democracy of New Hampshire, the New Hampshire chapter of the National Association for Social Workers, and the Keene Sentinel today. So I thank them for their endorsements. I humbly ask for your votes in Hollis on November 3rd, or if you vote in absentee before that time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deborah. So the other for District 5 Executive Council, David Wheeler.
Thank you, and again, thank you for having this forum. It's a great thing for the public to get to know us. But we do both bring different philosophies to the Executive Council. I think we both give excellent constituent service to our constituents during the times we've been there. We've both been in the Senate. We've both been in the House of Representatives. So I think we have a good background on the legislative side and with the council on the executive side. But I would like to see the people of New Hampshire have more choices. I want them money to follow the children so they can get their education where they learn best and where they can get the best education possible, and not have government always make those decisions for them. I would like to see good constitutionalist judges who will interpret the Constitution and not make law from the bench. I would like to see good educational appointments as well, who will give us choice in education. I also want transparency on the council. If your family's making money from an insurance company, you shouldn't be voting for the insurance commissioner. If your company's making money from Eversource, you should not be putting the people in positions on the Public Utilities Commission who are setting Eversource's rates.
Thank you, David Wheeler. For District 12 State Senate, Melanie LeVake.
Hi, to finish up my comment about the new form of tax, which is a market-based tax on streaming companies. And they sell into New Hampshire like Netflix, and to put a small tax on those companies, as 39 states do, it will help generate revenue for New Hampshire and not have small businesses or business owners in New Hampshire have to pay those taxes. So I want to thank you for having me here tonight. I've been supported by Republicans, Democrats, and independents. I've been endorsed by small businesses, local law enforcement, unions, teachers, and advocacy groups like environmental, women's, and voting rights groups. This job is really about serving you, the people of my district. And I work to fully fund education, giving our children the resources they need while lowering your property taxes. In the Senate, I'll ensure a better future for our children, families, seniors, and working people of New Hampshire. I want to thank you again for this time, and I ask you for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Melanie. That was it for this evening, and thank you. I think I learned a little bit about each and every one of you, and Best of luck to you, and thank you for participating. The next one is going to be October 19th, this coming Monday, and it will be county level candidates, sheriff, attorney, treasurer, register of deeds, register of probate, and county commissioner. We look forward to seeing you in October, and have a good evening. Thank you.
You're
Thank you,
welcome.
everybody.
Thank you all.
You.